WhatsApp. You get that? Pesach C Learner sends out. I send a guy to a guy Pesach C Learner. He sends it out. Well, there, okay, fine. Yeah. Shkaf. All right. This is our only warmth in the winter. Yeah. Very cliche. It's too cliche that line.
It's dark outside by sliding here.
All right, we'll start the next Gemara. You guys are good? Bein Laman Damar? The Gemara is a kasha. Bein Laman Damar, Shema Thomas, Bein Laman Damar, Shema Tivrach. Whether you hold that the reason for a mayor why he does not like an animal as a wall for a sukkah is because it might die or because it might run away, whichever way you slice it, Midaraisa Mechitza Ma'alihi. They both agree that Rameir holds that it is a good wall. Minatayra. There's nothing wrong with this wall. The Rabbanan who the Gazarbaba came along the Rabbanan, which is Rameir, and they made a gzeira about it not to use it because it might run away or might die. Elamayata, but now you have something that's a problem. L'Rebbe Meir, according to Rameir, to Tamim Mishum Goylo, it should become Tameh as a coffin cover. The dinim of a coffin cover if you use this animal to cover the coffin. Alama Tzan, why does it say a Mission Erevin? Rabbi Yehuda v'Tamim Mishum Goylo. Rabbi Yehuda says it is Tameh as a goylo. Rabbi Meir Mitar. Rabbi Meir said it's tar. Why? How can Rabbi Meir say it's tar? I understand the Rabbanan want to be machmer. Rabbi Meir wants to be machmer and say, I don't like this wall. Even though it is a wall, but I'm more machmer. You can't be more lenient if it's officially a wall, so it's a coffin cover, and there's the status of a coffin cover. You can't say, no, with the Rabbanan we say it's not. If it is, it is. You can't be more lenient. You could just be more machmer. The Gemara said, Ella, rather, it's a whole new shot of Rabbi Meir. He spent a whole long time on this. Total flip. Amar Rav Acha bar Yaakov said, you know what Pshat and Rameir is? Because Rameir held, Kol mechitza shemed is beruach, any wall that stands with air. If it stands with air, which has no mamashas, has no substance, Ein mechitza is not a wall. Min HaTorah, it's not a derabanan. Rameir says an animal is no good, Min HaTorah. Ikidami, a different version of how it was said. Amar Rav Acha bar Yaakov, because Rameir held, Kol mechitza she'ena asuya b'di adam, any wall that's not made by a person, and that means over here, a person cannot make an animal alive. It's up to HaKadosh Baruch Hu. You cannot instill life into an animal. So because of that, Ein Mechita is not a wall. It has to be somewhat that you are the one that made this wall happen, man-made, and it's not. So those are the two different versions of why it's no good. My Binayu, what's the difference? Sounds like the same thing. Iki Binayu, there is a difference. Du ukma b'noi tafuach. Let's say you supported a wall with an inflated bottle. Laman Damri Mechitza Medes Baruach in the Mechitza. According to the one who said the version was any Mechitza that's standing with air is not a Mechitza. Harei Medes Baruach. This is a wall that's standing, being supported by air, so it's not a good wall. Laman Damri Eina Asui B'Dei Adam. According to the one who says that the problem was it's not man-made, a man's not putting life into this animal. Harei Asui B'Dei Adam. This is being made by a person. He's blowing air into the bottle, which is allowing the wall to stand there, and therefore it would be a good wall for a sukkah, and this is where we're up to, okay? Right over here. Chavdal in the base, top. Omar Mar, says master. Mar means master. Whenever it says that, it's quoting from something earlier. Master said somewhere, something earlier that we're going to talk about. So before we see this Gemara, we have to jump back to the Bryce. I think it's Kedai to read the Bryce inside, just to get our bearings. Let's just jump back for 1 minute to Chav Gimel Amid Aleph. We've been dealing with this brayso for a long time, and we're at the end, where it says Asal behema doifin l'sukkah Chav Gimel Amid Aleph, what we've been talking about for a very long time. This is like a new brayso, and the brayso said like this: Asal behema doifin l'sukkah. Somebody made for his behema as a wall for a sukkah. Reb Meir Paisel, Reb Meir says no good. Reb Yehuda Machshar, Reb Yehuda says it is good. What's Pshat of Reb Meir? Why would an animal be good as a wall? Shahaya Rabbi Meir used to say, Kol davar sheyesh baruach hayim, anything that is alive, anything that has life in it, ein oisin oisai, you cannot make it into loidoy from the sukkah, you can't make it as a wall for a sukkah, v'loy lechi l'mava, you can't make it as a side post for an alley to be able to carry, v'loy pasin leberois, you can't make it for boards, for wells, to create some sort of like enclosure to be able to take the water out. And it's not meant, it cannot get the status of a coffin cover to get dinei tumah. What is the reason for all these halachas? What we came out of halacha l'maisa. Why is something that's alive not good for these things? Because any mechitza that's with air, or that a person can't give it a life force, which is this animal, they're not mechitzas. Now we have a new pshat in this brisa, what we saw from Rabbi Acha bar Yaakov, where Meir says these walls are no good midoraisa.
Not because of that.
Not because of death, not because they might flee, no shaykhs, not the rabbanans. Because in and of itself, because it's either air, one pshat, or because it's the life force of the animal, it's not man-made, therefore it's not a good wall. That's why it can't be used for these things. This is where we have to highlight right here. Mishum Rabbi Yossi Aglili Amru, in the name of Rabbi Yossi Aglili, they say, Af ein kaisvin olav gitei nashim. Random new halacha. You can't even write on it a get for a lady on an animal. Okay, you take an animal and you want to give this zetzer animal to a lady and say you're megureshes with this animal. It's no good. You cannot use it to write a get on it. We have to discuss what is pshat in Rabbi Yossi Aglili. What's pshat in him, and why is Rameir and Rabbi Yehuda? No one seems to agree with this. All the other rabbanan seem to argue. So now we jump back. This is what we're going to discuss. Chav Daled Amud Beis, top of the page. Amar Mar, Master said, quoting this brisa, Mishum Rabbi Yossi Aglili Amru, in the name of Rabbi Yossi Aglili, they say, Af ein kaisvin alav gitei nashim. You can't even write on the animal a get for a wife. That's the lashon brisa. Ask the Gemara, my time with Rabbi Yossi Aglili, what is pshat? What is the reason for Rabbi Yossi Aglili? Why can't you use an animal? The Tanya, because it's a brisa. Listen to this brisa. To understand this brisa, you have to look at the pasuk. It's not, you were familiar with this pasuk from Yeshiva. We have it in the blue Gemaras, if anybody has those type of Gemaras. Look at number Aleph, it's on the left side of the page. On this page, left side, it says Torah or Hashalim, all the way bottom left, letter Aleph. You need to see the pasuk inside, or else you're not going to understand the Gemara. The pasuk says like this: Ki yikach ish isha. If a man takes a wife to get married, he marries a wife, uba'ala, and he has relations with her. V'haya im lo simsa chen be'enav, and if it will be that this lady does not find favor in his eyes. Ki matzav ba ervas davar. He found in her an ervas davar. I'm not translating that right now. It's machlikas tanaim. He found something wrong with her. He's not happy with her. The kasav la sefer krisis. He writes for her a sefer krisis. We'll see what that word a little bit more in a few seconds means. But let's call it a get, a document that cuts. Krisis means to cut. He writes for her a document that cuts, a get. V'nosam biyada. He puts it into her hand. And he sends her off from his house. That is the pasuk that tells us the halacha of giving a get to a wife, and that allows her to get married to somebody else. That's the pasuk. I would look at that pasuk while we're looking at this brisa hand in hand. Going back to the Gemara, the Tanya, you have a brisa. The brisa quotes the pasuk. It says the word sefer. Okay, like you look in the pasuk, the kasav law sefer krisis. What does that word sefer mean? So the brisa says, Ein li ella sefer. There is to me, ella, rather, only sefer. The only thing I know that you can write a get on is a sefer. The word sefer means parchment. This time is learning, and we'll elaborate more about this, that the word sefer is referring to the material of the get. And the material of the get has to be written on klaf. Klaf means the skin of an animal, what we would call hide, what we would call parchment. A sefer means, in the Torah, it means parchment, the skin of an animal. That's how they used to write things on. And nowadays, still like that, you have to write on some sort of parchment, not just on a piece of paper. But this Tana says, from the word sefer, all I know, ainli ella, that you can write a get on something that is a sefer, that's parchment. Minayin l'rabis kol davar. How do I know I could include anything if I want to write on any other material? Where I know this from? Talmud Loimar, the pasuk teaches us to say, the pasuk says, v'kasavla. The pasuk said also, v'kasavla, he should write for her. Those are extra words. If you look at the pasuk for a second, looking on Aleph, it could have just written, he finds in her an ervas davar, and then v'nosam biyada sefer krisis. He puts in her hand a get. Why did it say he writes for her a get, and he gives it to her? Just say, we wouldn't know that's written material. I hear it. Right. Maybe it's something else. I guess how else? It sounds like something you're giving to her. It sounds like it's a document. So probably you wrote it. You're just saying the final part. You give her a document of Krisis. So I have to say he wrote it and he gave it. Just say he gave her a document of Krisis, which means that he wrote it. So because it's the extra words of a kasavla, he wrote for her. We learn that from here. Mikol makom literally means any place. But it really means anything. Mikol makom in any situation, in any event, anything. You're allowed to write a get on any single type of material. Why does the pasuk need to say safer? Imkain, if so, ask the Brisa. Ma Talmud Loimar, what is the Brisa telling us by saying the word safer? You just said safer means parchment. Then it says v'kasava, which means everything. So why does it say parchment? Loimar lecha, to tell you, ma safer, just like parchment is a davar, is something she'ein b'ruach chaim, that there's no life in it, it's not alive. Ve'ena eichel, and it's not a food. Af kol davar, so to anything she'ein b'ruach chaim, it's not alive. Ve'ena eichel, and it's not food, you could use as a get. So this first time, now looks at this pasuk and he says to himself, the word sefer is referring to the material, and that material is parchment. Oh, I only use parchment. No, but it says an extra word v'kasava, which means you can write on anything. You can write on anything. Oh, so then what I need the word sefer to say parchment. Parchment is coming to tell you you're right pretty much everything, just not on something that's alive and not on something that's food. So if you want to write a get on an animal, it's no good. If you want to write a get on a piece of pizza, it's no good. You can only write it on parchment, paper, wood, or on a tree, some sort of thing like that.
The tree's alive.
What?
The tree is alive.
No, it's not alive in terms of. It can't. Maybe not mechubel karka, but you take a piece of a tree and you write on wood.
You can't do mechaber lakarka?
That's a different discussion. I think there might be a problem with mechubel karka, but you could use that material.
How about a dead cow?
What?
How about a dead cow?
A dead cow? You're saying it's not alive at this moment?
Right.
So it's a good question. Let's just talk about a live animal. But it's a good point. Could be good. Yeah.
It'll die while you're
By the way, even by the wall for a sukkah, if it's a huge elephant that's dead, you can use it as a wall because it's not air,
It's not man-made.
and it is because you took the animal and put it there. It means it's not the life or the air which is letting it stand up. The animal is so big in and of itself, it'll probably be okay. Right. Well, if the animal's big enough, even while it's lying down, it's there. Well, it's lying down and it's very high up. So anyways, what's Pshat Rabbi Yosef Glili? Why can't you use an animal, forget a live animal? It's because of this drasha from the pasuk. It says the word sefer, which means parchment. Parchment, so then only parchment? No, it says v'kasavla, write for on anything you want. Anything you want? No, it says sefer to limit it, not food and not something that's alive.
What's the in and adding?
It's adding, it can't be a food. We learned it has to be something like parchment. Parchment is something that's not food, so you can't write on a piece of pizza or on a cracker.
Why is Rabbi Lily's statement in this brisa? It's really it's not a cow, it's really everything. It's not like a specific, why do you have to put his thing? Why do you have to
So basically he said his thing by the get. This brisa is a different place, like we have basically by us. This is a different brisa, and this brisa is learning. It's not really focusing on an animal per se.
So the brisa is bringing basically and pairing.
Brisa doesn't even mention the word Seglili. It goes along his lines, but it doesn't even mention his name.
So why is the brisa bringing him in?
It's not. It doesn't say his name. We're saying what's Pshat Rabbi Yosef Glili? There's a brisa. There's a brisa that says this. That was our brisa in our Gemara and Sukkah.
No, so I'm saying, why is that brisa have Rabbi Yosef Glili? It's not a din in a cow or a ruach. It's like
it's animals, anything that's alive, a behema. So where do we know Rabbi Yosef Glili from? From this other brisa that talks about it. So, okay, but what's Pshat all the other Tanaim, right? Only Rabbi Yosef Glili say you can't write on an animal, but the Rabbanan say you could. Rabbi Meir, Rabbi Yehuda, the Rabbanan, there's a question, the Rabbanan, what do they hold? What's Pshat, how you allowed to write on an animal? So they say like this. Iksiv had it written in the Torah, bis sefer, just as the custom of sefer creases. But had it written bis sefer in a sefer, kiddush amrat. I agree with you, it's like you're saying. That it's referring to the material, right? You write in a sefer, in parchment, on parchment, then I would agree with you if the Torah would say bis sefer. Hasha d'chsiv sefer, the pasuk just says you write for a sefer creases, doesn't say bis sefer in a sefer. L'sviras dvorim ba'al mahuda asa. It's just coming to relate words, l'sviras dvarim, tell of her story, a sipur, a story of words, a relating of words, ba'alma in general, who da'as is what's coming for. The Torah is telling you that you have to write in the get a report and a story that Reuven is divorcing Leah. It has to say over the story. You can't just write a get with random words in it. The Torah is telling you has to be a sipur dvarim of krisis. It's not referring to the material. No shaykhs, you learned it wrong. It's coming to teach you how to write a get. But write for her a sviras dvarim, a relating of words that says that this cuts off the man and the wife. That's what he says. So that is how he takes care of it. So the Gemara says, V'Rabbanan, but according to this Rabbanan, hide the kasav my darshibe. Basically, he had a very nice thing. There's an extra word v'kasav. Now that you just said the word safer is not talking about the material, so what's this extra words right for her? Just say, gave her a get. What do you need v'kasav? What do you darshan with it? The Gemara says, hahu mi boyaluhu. That was needed to them. They needed these words for something else. To teach you, biksiva miskareshes. You could only divorce a lady with written words. With ksiva, you could be misgarsh. Ve'ena misgareshes v'kesef. You cannot divorce a lady with money. Whoa, who would have thought, what type of random, you don't give someone money when you divorce? Like, what are you even thinking? So the Gemara says, no. Salke daita chamina, I might have thought to say, hoyol since v'iskash yitzia lahavaya, there's a hekesh, they're written side by side. Yitzia getting divorced and Havaya getting married. They're written next to each other. Just to show you the pasuk, it's in the Argamaras. Look in the Torah or Hashalim, letter Gimel on the left side of your Gemara. It says in letter Gimel, the Yatzali Beise, she leaves his house, which is divorce. The Holchan, she goes, the Hayasali Shacher, and she gets married to another man. So there's a hekesh between getting divorced and getting married. So you might have thought, jumping back into the Gemara, Ma Havaya B'Kesef, just like getting married, you could do with money, like you learned from Ephron, Kicha Mr. Ephron, famous Gemara in Kedushin, that you could get married with money. Af Yitzia B'Kesef. So there's a hekesh. That means they have the same halachas probably. And so too, when you divorce someone, you could do with money. So the Gemara says, Kamash Malan. Comes along the Kasav law and teaches us, no, it has to be written, it can't be with money. So the Rabbanan just took care of Rabbi Seglili. Rabbi Seglili was all into the material and all these drushes. The Rabbanan say, there's no shaykh as material. We're not discussing material. We're talking about what to write in a get. The kasav has extra words. I need the kasav to tell me only through ksiva and not through anything else. Which really, Kivi, you were a little bit bothered by. Maybe you need to, you need to write a get. So he seems to say that, in a way, to bring out your point, you learn it from the kasav law. From now back to Rabbi Seglili. Rabbi Seglili, high svar manoli. Where does he know it from that it's only through ksiva? Okay, this is really your question also. How does Rabbi Seglili know it's through ksiva if he needs it for something else? See, he darshans it mi sefer krisis nafkale. He learns it out from the word sefer krisis, right? The kasav law, a sefer, a parchment of krisis that cuts them off. Nafkale, that's where he learns it from. These words sefer krisis. What's the drasha? Sefer korsa, ve'ein davar acher korsa. Only a sefer, something written on a parchment, that is something that could cut you between you and her. That could clear means to cut. That could cut and divorce the man and the lady. Ve'ein davar acher, nothing else like money, korsa, could cut between the man and the lady. So therefore, basically he says, I know it from the sefer krisis, that closeness between those words. Only a sefer could do krisis, a parchment, but not money.
According to how he types his sefer.
Yeah, right. According to how he types his sefer.
We learn from two words.
I guess it's one's a hekesh, one's from the word itself.
He wasn't using them together.
He was using them together, and now he's putting as a hekesh the two together. Sefer krisis. Now they're being used together. The first part was about the material, but the material of krisis. Okay, whoa. V'idach. Now let's jump back to the Rabbana. What do they do to this sefer krisis? These words next to each other. Gemara says, Hahumi Baile, that was needed for them for something else. To teach you, Ledover HaKeres Beinoy LeBeinoh. Ledover HaKeres means something that really separates between him and her. You need, when you write a get, has to really separate you. What does that mean? So Gemara tells you, Kidatanya, we have in the Brisa. Let's say a man said to a lady, Hareza gitech, here's your get. Amanash tishiyayin, on condition you don't drink wine. Or, just like an or here, the vav is an or. Vi amanas, or on condition. Shalei telchi lebeis avich, you can't go to your father's house. It's pretty sad for a lady, right? You get divorced, you can never go to your parents. Good shtick. Okay, so the law is like this. If it's ein zekrisis, that's not called cutting off. You're still connected to the husband. You're not really divorced from the husband. He has like conditions on you. It's not a good get. Kol shleishim yom, if he says, I'm giving you this get on condition you don't go to your father's house for 30 days, you don't drink wine for 30 days, hareza krisis, that is called krisis cutting off, and that's a good get. So the Rabbanan say, you know what I need safer krisis, that connection, to tell me that the get has to be something that really makes a krisis, with no conditions attached. It could be 30 days, but after 30 days, it's over. There cannot be an everlasting condition on her with this get. So that's what he does with the safer krisis. The idach, it was a bit basically, how does he know this now? He used everything up. Where does he get this from? He learns it out from kores. Instead of writing the word kores, it said krisus nafka. He learns it out. Why does it say safer krisus, like this longer expression? Just say a safer kores. A safer of cutting off. The word kores means to be cut off. Just say safer kores. So the fact that it said krisus, like a very strong expression, extra words we learn now, has to really be something that cuts between the man and the lady, no conditions attached, or if there is a time, some sort of time limit on the condition. V'idach, now back to the Rabbanan. Why taka does it say kores? It says as krisis. What do they do, those extra letters? The Gemara says kores, and then the fact that it could have said kores, and instead it said krisus, loy darshi, they don't darsha. Basically, to sum it up, we got this brisa, and then they all deal with each other's drashas, which we're used to, familiar from this from the Gemara. But basically, we said you cannot use an animal as a get, and his reason is because it has to be written on the material that's not alive and it's not food. And the Rabbanan say you learned it wrong. It's not referring to the material; it's referring to the type of get. And then, of course, from there follows along each one dealing with each other's drashas. Shkayach for listening. Mazel tov, we got to the Mishnah.
And tomorrow's a Chazar day.
Yes, Chazar tomorrow. Major. Chazar is the best day, by the way. Chazar is the best, for sure. Is when you get a Clark.